Hey Troy, thanks for coming on to Social Dream Machine. It's always great to speak to other creators. I just wanted to get to know you a little bit. How did you get into the whole creator community and like what sort of offers do you have?
I would say I was telling stories about my construction career and I think a big not passion, but thing I realized was there was a lot of contractors that were getting into messy contracts that if they weren't careful, it could totally destroy them financially because that's actually what happened to me. I got taken for like 90 grand in a project and yeah, it really sent me through the loop. Um, but through sharing my message, I was like, wait, like there's a lot of people that if I was to do all of that again and had somebody kind of supporting me through the chaos, I kind of could have mitigated a lot of disaster. So,
Want to help people essentially, it sounds like.
yeah, education and through doing the entrepreneur community, I realized there's a ton of people like me that were taking on a ton of risk, totally overwhelmed with everything, but not, yeah, they just didn't have external support to be like, hey, landmine over there, or go left instead of right, and you'll avoid like a total, yeah, total catastrophe. Yeah. So it started from there, and then it just kind of evolved to I have a background in graphic design. So I kind of started mixing marketing, design, and then it kind of became like brand development and positioning and like offers and through my construction career, I was doing a ton of luxury projects and I think the way we priced things were quite unique and we were winning like decent sized gigs. I realized after I started studying marketing, it's like, wait, I was doing certain things there that like in marketing it's called like positioning or price positioning and different things. And it's like I was doing all these things. And then as I started educating myself, I'm like, oh, that's the thing that we were doing. But it just kind of happened through experience and just doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna get into titles and thumbnails because we're both on
Yeah.
YouTube, and
Yeah.
honestly, I've been destroyed on YouTube. I've realized that like I
Yeah.
was doing videos before with like kind of just riffing conversations and not really thinking about the idea ahead of time. And I've
Mm.
realized that like that's definitely like a big portion of like getting clicks is like having like a good idea. Like
Mm.
there was something that I saw the other day that was interesting. It was like this title or it was a thumbnail and it had like a shark and it was like
Mm.
this like person's thumb bleeding and the person's like face is in the background and you can't help but see and like you don't really even need writing on that because you could see that there's
Yeah.
danger and there's something bad. I want to ask about the like how you recovered from that like situation
Yeah.
mentally, and then I have another question for you after that about something else. But
Honestly, I was wildly depressed for, I would say, 1 to 2 years. I was 23 at the time, and I was like, man, I just basically lost all my savings. I had to fire all my employees. So not fire them, but I had to get rid of everyone. I think we had probably 15, 16 people on payroll. That put me in a place where I was like, okay, I'd always wanted to get out of construction, but it was like, how do I do it? Like I've been in it for 9 years. I got a brand new truck. I got a bunch of debt. I got like all these things tying me down, keeping me here. And yeah, I was searching online and I came across Tim Ferriss's 4 Hour Work Week, and I started reading it, and I I think I think I coped with it with personal development, and then personal development put me on like a bit of a health and fitness journey of if you're not together in your body, then of course you're going to feel depressed and different things. Like it's I think holistic. Yeah, I think entrepreneurship is holistic. Like if you're failing in the health department, you're going to feel it in the business department. You're going to feel it in your emotions, mentally, physically. You're not going to take the actions that you want to take. So you're going to second guess a lot of things because a lot of self belief things. So I think, yeah, man, it was just like I found a mentor at the time through the Young Entrepreneur Society, and I still work construction from, I would say, 2 to 3 years after all of that. But having a vision that I could move towards, I think pulled me out of like this deep depressive state because it was like yeah, just it felt like my life was over.
Yeah,
And
it
then
sounds like you
as I
reinvented yourself, which is pretty amazing, like, from, like,
yeah,
what you were doing before into something completely just felt like shit, and then to something
yeah,
completely, like, stoked again, which is pretty
yeah,
pretty cool to see. It's almost like that phoenix, I guess, like, where it's, like, dying
yeah.
and doing something different. So, like, what was your first dollar, like, online, and, like, how was it from, like,
Yeah.
LinkedIn?
What I'm realizing about LinkedIn is it's really easy to make connections because it's a networking platform, and most people actually want to network when you do reach out to them. Unless you're like cold DMing them a pitch right away, if you're actually being a decent human, like they want to connect. Um, I think the first dollar that I made online was a cleaning company that kind of followed a bit of my construction career and then my transition to online. A guy reached out to me and he's like, I got a cleaning business. I seen you ran a construction company. I need help. And I was at that time, to be honest, I wasn't even really like selling a ton of consulting packages. I was just like, damn, I guess I got to like put something together here. I wanted to sell them, but I didn't really have like a formal package. I sold them on a monthly retainer. He was negative profit and we took him to like positive 3,500 a month, and that gave me a glimpse of like, huh, this like advisory and consulting side of things actually adds value to somebody else's life. It's like this guy was negative like 900 bucks a month, like going in the hole, and within like 4 to 6 weeks we turned it around, got him a bunch of monthly contracts, and I was like, huh, there's something here.
What did that retainer
So
look like as well? Like, how much was it, you say?
I think he was, man, at the time, I think he was like 750 a month.
And then
I think
what
we were
sort of,
doing.
like, deliverables would you have to do for that?
Yeah, weekly calls where basically we do strategy breakdown. Like, what do you want to achieve over the next, 4 to 6 weeks? How do we move towards that? We identified like in the construction space, it's really difficult to get monthly retainers. Like a lot of contracts are one-offs. So you pick up a big contract, you bring a bunch of employees on, you finish the job, and if you weren't pricing accordingly, you have like a famine period where you now need more work. So it's always this like constant juggle of maintaining talent, pricing projects, landing projects, and like transitioning to the next one smoothly. So there's a place in Canada called the like Legions, a place that vets can go to drink, and they're old like yeah, they're old veteran bars basically. And we helped him secure waxing contracts. So every month or every 2 to 3 weeks, he would go in and wax all the floors, and there'd be 12 to 15 different legions, and he could just cycle through them. So they weren't massive projects, but they gave him stable cash flow to maintain his best employees and then still bid on bigger projects and not be like totally screwed if a project doesn't go through. I think it opened my eyes to like
What
there's
people
a
want?
ton, yeah, well, and also that just like consulting is possible, and that like this guy can pay me 750 a month to turn around 3,500 a month. It's like that. It's a no brainer at the time. It's like as long as my advice is yielding my retainer in full, then there should be no problem here.
What does your offer look like these days? Like, what sort of things do you go after? Like, what are you working on?
It's been a journey since I started like coaching consulting. My career started in like building websites, coaching consulting. A lot of agency work came into my world, and then through a lot of that, I was still doing like real estate fundraisers, and I was kind of acting like as a marketing partner slash CMO, and then designing pitch decks and raising funds. Then through all of that, I realized that I still do a lot of agency work, but it's not like, how do I say this? I don't wake up excited to buy Facebook ads, do Google ads, do SEO, and buy backlinks. Like it's cool, and I know how to do it, but it's like, yeah, I had a moment like probably like 12 months ago where I was like, man, I left construction because I didn't really like it. And it's like, and now here I am 7 years later running an agency that like I don't mind, it's decent, but like I think the thing that pushed me away from agency work is like no matter how well your campaigns do, no matter how much money you spend, clients always they always want leads for cheaper. So there's always this point where it never felt like enough, if that makes sense. It's like, cool, you guys did great, your CPA is super low, do better. And it's like, ugh, well, we just like busted it to get to this point, and it's like you actually can't do better than that. So like it was always, yeah, it just felt very unforgiving. Whereas like a lot of consulting work that I've done, it's like, cool, this is the goal we want to move towards. Great, we hit the goal. Awesome. Let's reset some great goals. Whereas like a lot of lead generation is based on like CPA, CAC, and CPC. It's like if your costs aren't low, we want them lower.
I feel like there's a fit for everyone. Like I feel like
Yeah.
just as long as like I listened to $100 million offers the other day again,
Yeah.
and with Hermosi, and he was just basically saying just as long as there's like a burning desire for something.
Mm,
And one thing that I wasn't doing as a creator was I wasn't like really looking at like Quora, or like I watched something on
mm,
John Brosio the other day,
yeah.
and he was talking about like how he like looks at Quora and like will look at a
Mm,
topic and figure out like how many views it has, and then he'll look at
cool.
the comments and then figure out what they're saying and then put it back into the hook exactly what these people are
Mm,
saying, so that it's like,
I love
you know, if something that was commented and it was thumbs up like 100 times, it makes sense that that's like a topic that people are wanting to hear. But as a creator, I wasn't really doing that.
yeah.
But let's shift into some YouTube
Yeah.
stuff now and some titles. So let me go ahead and share my screen, and let's check out Danco first. And if you have anyone that you want to check out after
Yeah.
Troy, let me know. But all right, so let's check out his popular videos and then kind of just go over the first, maybe say five. How to get ahead of 99% of people, and then it says brackets in 6 to 12 months.
Mm,
So this thing had 1.5 million views. So we'll talk about the thumbnail after, I guess. But what do you think about the title?
mhm. I like the 6 to 12 months because it makes it believable. I think we all want to get ahead. How to get ahead of most people in 6 to 9 months or 6 to 12 months?
6 to 12 months. It does have a 99%, which is obviously just something. I'm
Interesting.
assuming it's just like a number, right? But
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but people like numbers, right?
Yeah, yeah. People like numbers. I think it's interesting. Like people like believable headlines. Like I think in a lot of marketing we get taught a lot of clickbait stuff, but it's like it's a very believable, like I personally think it's like, yeah, I can get ahead if I do the right things in the next 6 to 12 months. So I think it's like super. I mean, his audience is personal development. They all want to get ahead. We're all striving for a little bit more, especially in like the personal development online marketing space. Yeah, I dig it. I dig the thumbnail because it's like I think that's one of his things is the anti-vision. I think it's unique because a lot of people are like, "Oh, build a vision, go towards something big," and he's like, "No, dude, anti-vision," and it's like, "Oh, okay, that's new." So yeah, he like kind of takes an old idea and makes it new.
Yeah, and he's also very punchy, I've realized.
Yeah,
And it's a little bit like the vibe of it, the color scheme, it's like kind of black and white with like a pop of
yep,
color. I've noticed a little
yep.
bit too, which looks nice.
It's cool to actually see because I think like the majority of his stuff recently is all super black and white, but the one that's blue seems to.
Pop a little. Let's look at the
Yeah,
second one here. So
yeah, yeah.
change your life in 6 months. My deep work routine in parentheses, 1.3 million views.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
I think it goes on the same premise. Like 6 months is a believable, life-changing timeline. If you tell me I can change my life in 1 week, I'm like, okay, I might check it out. But 6 months, it's like this believable, if I have the right tools, if I have the right mechanisms to get me there, then I believe I can get there. So I think, yeah, I like it.
Yeah, I like it too. I'm wondering if he like kind of worked it from the first one and like that one worked really well, so I'm gonna do it again.
Redid it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It says, let's see, on the thumbnail or on the picture, it says 4 hours a day of focused work. And it's kind of a cool
Mm,
pic that looks like blurred out in the background. He's kind of centered in
yeah.
it. Also, like notice too, like the body is like I guess like from like the height of the thumbnail from the bottom to the top. It's
Mm,
pretty I've noticed that like
yep.
have you noticed that like the pictures, like his face is pretty prominent in them too.
Yeah, I mean, he's super personal brand focused. Like, I think yeah, I think he makes a pretty big, how do I say this? Yeah, he makes a pretty big splash with his personal brand.
Let's check out the next one. The one person business model, parentheses, how to productize yourself. Thoughts on that one?
This is really interesting because I think, how do I say this? I didn't see like the word creator and seeing people wanting to productize themselves until COVID came around and we were all trapped at home. There is still a lot of internet marketing, and there is still like sell a product, make automated internet money, but it wasn't like this whole productized side of thing. I think a lot of folks after the pandemic really wanted to build a business that wasn't massive with tons of employees, that enabled them to achieve freedom, travel, hang out whenever they wanted, control their schedule. So yeah, I think it's like it's saying exactly like what people want.
Yeah, it's solid. I think that's a really good one.
Yep,
And then the
yep,
thumbnail, turn yourself into a business. It's also got this
yep,
sense of like agency and this like kind of fierceness
mm,
of like just make your own money kind of
yep,
kind of vibe, which is pretty cool.
yep.
So the fourth one, it says the daily routine that changed my life, four habits most people ignore.
And he's got a good curiosity hook. The four habits. I want to know what the four habits are. And it's like that's going to get my click. The daily routine that changed my life. Yeah, like routines are a hot topic. Entrepreneurs, they believe that the routine's what's getting in their way from them achieving success. It only takes 6 months to change your life. I think this kind of borrows from like the second video, change your life in 6 months. Like that title performed, and I'm assuming that's why it's used on the image too.
Get ahead of 99% of people with deep work and monk mode.
This is the same headline as the top performing video, actually. How to get ahead of 99% of people. Get ahead of 99% people with XYZ formula.
It's
Hmm.
interesting because I've seen it so much. I feel like it's kind of like ingrained in my head. And then what about the thumbnail? It only takes 6 to 12. Oh, I guess it's kind of putting in the hope, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it comes back to the believable. I think that's the biggest thing in marketing is like we're taught to hype a lot of things up, but it's like with the way the market is currently, if you're too hypey, you attract the wrong customer. If it's believable, it's like, yeah, I'd love to check this out. Like, if this seems like it's something that can work for me, I'm interested.
All right. So this girl, let's see. She says, meet the YouTuber, or he says, meet the YouTuber who solved shorts, and then
Mm,
parentheses, Jenny Hoyos interview. Have you
yeah.
noticed too that they all have parentheses? I've noticed that just right now.
Yeah, that's interesting, actually. I didn't notice that until you mentioned that. And this seems to be like top. I'm curious if this is the same thing with various other creators too.
Yeah. And then, do you like the title, or what's your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I think TikTok made shorts like super attractive, and I think every single person that does social media is banging their head against the wall to try and figure out how the hell do these shorts work, or like how do I get traction? So yeah, I think it's good.
Okay, then it says I can make anything viral. Also notice her face, like how big
Yeah,
her face is. It's like going from top to bottom on like the height,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I made the mistake when I first made my first thumbnail. My It wasn't my graphic designer's fault, but he made it
Yeah,
like it was like half the size of that. And
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that's also I think important.
No, I dig that. I mean, if you're thinking on mobile too, it's like it would take up like a whole. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and he's not in it too, which is interesting, right? He's as the
Yeah, yeah.
creator, which is
It just
also
highlights them.
yeah. So it
Yeah.
says meet the godfather of YouTube strategy, and that says parentheses Patty Galloway interview. Thoughts?
I think it's fascinating how the first video has 3.2 million views, and then the second most popular video is 200K.
Yeah, it's really
That first,
interesting. That one popped
that's a
off.
that's a big gap. That's crazy. Like I have a vidIQ here. The first video has 198 views per hour. Second one has 4 views per hour. It's crazy.
That's
There's a
crazy. It's
big
got those
difference.
stats in that
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
platform.
I mean, I think it's super purple cow. Like it's like how's this guy a godfather? Like it's curious. Like it's like yeah, it makes me curious. I want to know why. And the man who solved YouTube.
What does
How to
purple
get
cow mean again? I know it's like a marketing term.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's from Seth Godin. It's like he has a book called Purple Cow, and it's like pretend you're driving down the road and you look into a field of cows and there's one purple cow and you're like, what? What what's going on there? Like there's something happening there. Like it really draws your attention because it's so different. And I think yeah, like in my brain, I don't expect this young dude to be a godfather of YouTube strategy. So it makes me curious.
Meet the man changing YouTube education film
Hmm.
booth interview.
Okay, he's got 96.7K subscribers. I think that title and thumbnail is not that exciting, but I think he is such a loyal fan base that it gets a ton of views.
That makes
So I
sense.
think like if you build a really loyal audience that wants to see what you've got to talk about, your headlines and your hooks don't matter as much. They still matter, of course, but I mean, I don't see anything like super wow about this. I don't know. I'm curious your viewpoint.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting. I noticed that they all kind of I've noticed the YouTube channels, it's always like a pretty big face with like an expression. Like this guy's
Mm-hmm.
moves, hands moving,
Mm-hmm.
right? This dude's
Mm-hmm.
got some thumb drive that says like secret, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
think that like that's part of the thing. And then I've noticed too that a lot of people kind of just it's kind of like the standard thing, like use like 4 words, maybe,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
and then like he's using Harvard here, so he's using social proof, but then he's kind of opening loops. So yeah,
yeah.
I think that they're good, but it's interesting too to know that there is this many people that are even into just creators, right?
Mm-hmm.
96,000. Let's do our homie Dakota,
Yeah,
Dakota,
yeah.
fellow Canadian. How to grow from 0 to 10,000 followers in 6 months on Twitter or X. Interesting.
Mm,
It's that six
mm,
month thing again, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it's this believable time frame. If we can commit ourselves to like a believable amount of time to achieve the result that we desire.
He even highlights it in the thumb too in 6 months.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I like the 0 to 10K again because it's also believable. If you put 0 to 100K in 6 months, it'd be like, I don't know. Um, hmm, interesting.
And it displays pretty clearly that in 6 months to go from one follower to 10K, which is pretty good.
Yep. Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
let's just blast through a couple more of these. How to
yep,
go from 0 to 10,000 followers on LinkedIn in less than 6 months.
yep. I mean, similar, almost exact. I don't want to say exact headline, but damn near close. Just different platform.
And the headline or the this one says like 10,000 and it's got a picture of him,
Yep.
pretty big picture, but they all kind of have the same size picture. I've noticed, kind
Yeah,
of,
yeah,
or his has
yeah,
more of his mid body, mid to head, I would
yeah,
say,
yeah.
than some of the.
Shoulders and yeah, yeah.
Let's see here,
Hmm.
top 5 one-person businesses to start in 2024, and then
Hmm.
and this one works well with the $600 a day highlighted on the thumb.
Mm-hmm. Dude, I think it's funny because the thing that keeps coming up for me is believable. It's like $600 a day. It's like, yeah, I could make that work. Top 5 one-person businesses. Again, that's going on to the trend of one-person business that I think also Justin Welsh made sexy and popular.
Yeah, he became
Uh,
that thing, which is crazy.
yeah,
Let's do 2 more and then we'll wrap
yeah,
this up. How to get 1,000 Twitter followers fast.
yeah. Hmm. Again, believable.
Yeah, and it's not a
It's
big
just
number, right? 1,000.
yeah, if it said 10,000 fast, you'd be like, well, I don't know. Um, I think it's believable from here to here,
How do you like the
from X to
0 and the
Y.
1,000? That
I
that
dig it.
yeah,
I think it's cool. I like the arrow. Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. All right, last one, and then we'll
Yep.
tell people where to find you and all that good stuff. So,
Yep.
how to make $1 million as a one-person business in 2024? To me, I'm like, damn, that's pretty strong. I feel like as
Yeah,
the
that's very
person,
strong.
yeah,
I think it's interesting because the video above it, like the 111,000 views on 10 months ago. The how to go from 0 to 10K. I think this one's interesting, but it is less believable, which then, it has 1/4 of the views that the first one has. So it's like, I'll watch it, but you'll garner a larger audience with a more believable hook. I don't think a lot of people believe that they can do $1 million a year as a one person business, but there's a fraction of the market that does believe that they can.
It's super interesting. Yeah, thanks for that.
Hmm.
That was really fun. So, Troy,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
that was a fun conversation. Where do people reach out to you, or where do you want to send people?
Yeah, find me on LinkedIn. My last name's a little hard to spell, but TroyAssoignon. Find me on LinkedIn. You can also go to internalsuccess.co. That's my newsletter. We mail every Thursday. You can find me on Facebook too, if that's where you're at. YouTube. I mean, same name, all platforms.
Awesome. How do you pronounce your last name, by the way?
Assoignon or Assoignon if you want to be super English about
Nice.
it.
Thanks for the time. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate you.